Good afternoon, viewers of the world. Welcome to our world news coverage. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we will be covering politics, environmental affairs, economics, and international affairs. This week I headed off to the Arctic to cover the recent news about the hole in the ozone layer. The depletion of the ozone layer in the Arctic this spring has increased devastatingly. On March 17, 2011, NOAA chemist Brian Johnson claimed that the ozone layer in the Arctic has significantly dropped this spring. According to him, the cause of this phenomena is the unusual cold temperatures, the rising sun, and the iridescent ice clouds. Brian claimed that this is pretty sudden and unusual. Another source, ScienceNews.org, announced that the Dobson units for the past 3 years have been recorded to be 480 Dobson units. But for March 15th of this year, Brian's balloon only recorded 306 Dobson units. The ozone layer is a layer that covers and protects our Earth from harmful UV rays. Other scientists believe that the reason for this is global warming. Off to Brock in Savannah, North America.
I'm standing here on the Mexican border where on March 8th, over 18 people were killed in drug shootings. Officials later announced the arrest of 2 alleged gang bosses and pressed charges on known drug traffickers. Over 34,600 people have been killed in security clashes and drug rival shootings since Mexican President Felipe Calderon came into power in 2006. Here is a photo of police officers escorting suspected drug trafficker Marcos Cameron Hernandez, aka El Cabrito, to the media federal police officers in Mexico City on March 8th.
March 10th of 2011, Governor Penn abolished the death penalty, letting 15 convicts go free of a much-deserved death. They are now spending the rest of their lives rotting in prison. Many people disagree with this. They say the death penalty shouldn't have been a choice at all. He says, depending on the type of sentencing, I can understand the cruel and unusual punishment, but there is nothing unjust about a murderer getting the same type of punishment. However, the judicial system has been known to make some flaws, so they want to abolish the death penalty before any more innocent people are killed.
Over 100,000 people protested the line signed by Governor Scott Walker and his bill limiting the collective bargaining rights of over 175,000 employees statewide, though the efforts of the activists were in vain. The bill was passed on March 10, 2011 in an astonishing 18-1 voting session where most of the Democratic officials were not present when the vote was taking place. Is this fair? Will Wisconsin's passing spread the limiting of union rights throughout the United States?
Thank you, Brock in Savannah. Now off to Evan in South America.
Nazareth, located in the Colombian Amazon, where the Tacuna Indians have banned tourists. Last year, 35,000 tourists flocked to this area, but now in Nazareth, guards armed with traditional sticks stand ready to discourage unwelcome visitors. Elders say that the indigenous people do not benefit from tourism. The Tacuna people are fearful of seeing their culture destroyed by visitors. President Grimaldo Ramos said, "Tourists come and shove a camera in our faces. Imagine if you were sitting in your home and strangers came and started taking photos of you. You wouldn't like it." Though the region is seeing large growth in tourism, the indigenous groups like the Tacuna are only seeing the sharp end of it. They feel as if these visitors are negatively impacting their community and remain content with their choice of banning tourists. News from Ecuador. A judge ruled in an environmental case that Chevron Corporation was responsible for oil drilling contamination in the northern jungles of Ecuador. The oil company was fined $9.5 billion for their damages. The plaintiffs include indigenous groups in the Amazon that have claimed Chevron dumped more than 18 billion gallons of toxic materials to unlined pits and rivers between 1972 and 1992, destroying their livelihood as well as increasing cancer rates in the area. Whether the plaintiffs will be able to collect is unknown, but Chevron responded that the situation was illegitimate and unenforceable. They have taken further legal action and appealed the fine. Yet, environmentalists hope the case will set an example, forcing companies to follow anti-pollution standards. An ancient Incan food by the name of quinoa is being dubbed the new health food of the century. Nutrition experts say it's full of protein and all 8 amino acids. Even Agustin Flores, a third-generation farmer in Bolivia, said, We don't ever get sick because we eat the quinoa and we got from our ancestors. Apart from being extremely important in Bolivian culture, for the past 10 to 15 years, quinoa has made its mark in the Western cuisine as well, and is often used as a substitute for pastas and risottos. Now, chefs and nutritionists everywhere are starting to take notice in the grain that has a light, fluffy texture and a mild, slightly nutty flavor. Epifano Morana, the head of Quinoa Producers Association, said, "With its great nutritional profile, quinoa has now become the food of the future. You can find it in your local stores today."
Thank you, Evan. Now off to Brandy in Antarctica.
Environmental correspondent for BBC News, Richard Black, says ice loss from Antarctica has accelerated over the last 20 years, and he believes will become the biggest cause of the rising sea levels. According to satellite data and climate models, scientists are calculating that between Greenland and Antarctica's collapsing ice sheets, sea levels will rise by 1.3 millimeters each year. By 2006, these sheets were losing a total mass of 475 gigatons, or billion tons, of ice per year, says BBC News. Greenland's sheets has increased by nearly 22 gigatons per year, while Antarctica is shedding 14.5 gigatons per year. If the increases persist, accumulated water from both polar ice sheets could add 15 centimeters, 5.9 inches, to average global sea levels by the year 2050. Scientists working in the most remote parts of Antarctica have discovered liquid water under the continent's coat of ice. This liquid water continuously thaws and refreezes, creating as much as half the ice in thickness in some places, constantly reshaping the Antarctic surface and structure. Not only does this water reshape Antarctica, it is also reshaping scientists' understanding of how the ice sheets expand and move, and how it may react to a warming climate. They say, ice sheets are known to grow and accumulate ice over periods of thousands of years, but scientists have recently only known little about what is happening down below, opening a new insight to the workings of ice sheets. One of the busiest field seasons has just ended for the U.S. Antarctic program at the McMurdo Station on March 5th. An Australian plane departed with 33 passengers, leaving about 150 people at the USAP's largest winter station to winter over. The station has held more than 1,100 people at the height of the summer field season. The numerous people working at 36 different locations around the continent peaked to 333 people. The Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory was able to install its 86th string, completing the cubic kilometer neutrino detector array at the South Pole Station, and the WAIS Divide Project drilling team reached its largest depth of 3,331 meters, the USAP's longest ice core from the polar regions.
Thank you, Brandy. Now off to Jonathan in Europe.
The Natural History Museum in the UK is returning the bones of 138 men and women to the Torres Strait Island in Australia, in what is believed to be the largest repatriation of human remains of any UK museum. They're our people and they're coming home. This is a wonderful moment for us, said Ned David, a community leader from the Central Islands. The museum is not releasing any pictures, as this is seen as a lack of respect towards the islanders. When the Natural History Museum was founded in 1881, the bones became part of a huge collection of over 20,000 human remains, mostly from Britain, some dating back to the prehistoric times. Repatriation was claimed for many indigenous people, began in the early 1990s, but for years were rejected from the museum by a simple statement claiming that it were illegal to return these artifacts. In 2006, the Human Tissue Act helped the National Museum to repatriate their artifacts to their ancestors. David said, "Bringing our ancestors home is not about science, it's about being humans. But we are going to avoid playing the blame game. We want to grab the opportunity to build a bigger, stronger, and wider relationship with the Natural History Museum." The company Lukoil is raising their oil prices by March 14th because of a situation on the oil products market, the company explained. Its net profit rose from $9.1 billion in 2010, with sales increasing to 29% in 2011 to $105 billion. Petrol A91 will increase by 3.33%. Diesel fuel will rise by 1.79%. Measures aimed at a higher efficiency and cost control allow the company to generate strong free cash flow and increase net income, Luke Oil said. The Monetary Policy Committee continues to keep interest rates at a record low of 0.5%. There's been no change since 2 years, despite the fact that the bank's goal is double their current inflation rate. Although there was some speculation that there could be a rise due to 3 members of the MPC voting for a rise interest rate in February, the bank is in a very difficult spot over interest rates at the moment. Raising the rates will slow down inflation, but it is the bank's responsibility to keep inflation in check. It also raises the cost of borrowing, and this may tip the UK back into recession. MPC members continue to have widely divergent expectations about the outlook for inflation, so this decision comes as no surprise. Ian McCafferty, CBI Chief Economic Advisor, said, "The consumer price inflation currently stands at 4%, which is well above the bank's goal of 2%. Another factor which is pushing up inflation is the rise of oil prices, which have been risen because of the concerns about political conflict in the Middle East and North Africa." The British Chamber of Commerce agreed with the decision of holding the interest rates at 0.5%, but said that ongoing speculation of interest rates could affect business in a negative way. The FEC must address this in order to give business and market analysts a greater degree of predictability.